Hey, I'm Savannah, and I was kidnapped by an end-of-the-world survivalist. I was studying abroad in London. At the time in my life, I felt like I was going through a really big repositioning and a huge life change, and I felt like it couldn't have come at a better time to rewrite my story, go to a place I've never been, and explore everything that there was there. I said yes to every opportunity. I said yes to meeting anyone. But of course, since there's amazing stories that I have from that experience, there's also a few situations where, looking back, I definitely shouldn't have come out of it alive. You know, I've never really told this story in a way that wasn't comical, and maybe that's a way to just kind of get through it without really getting deep into it. I feel like looking back as my older self, it's almost like watching your little sister make terrible, terrible decisions. So I was studying abroad in London with about 30 kids from my school. And there was a roommate at the time who was trying to go on different websites to find people to date or to find sugar daddies and so on and so forth. And so she came up to me and was like, hey, I met this guy on Tinder and he really wants us to go to this like Brazilian carnival themed rave. And I said to him that, you know, I never go anywhere without my cousin. And that we're like backpacking across Europe. So basically she was just doing that to make sure when she like meets someone in public that it's like she feels comfortable and she feels safe. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go. And I started like looking through his Tinder pictures and he was just, there was something about this energy that was just so like cat and mouse, like he was the cat and we're the mice. One of my best friends at the time was like, I'm telling you guys, I don't have a good feeling about this. So I broke out my tarot card deck, and I like to use my cards to kind of help me re-examine a situation and see the symbolism that might be there and think about it in a new way. And all of my cards were like the reversed emperor, which is like very heavy male energy, like almost like a dictator commander. And I knew deep down like this, not gonna be a really good night, but I didn't wanna say anything. I thought like, I saw it as a challenge. So we ended up going and he sends us a random address in South London in Brixton. It's like this 3-story brick building, nothing on it. All the windows are blacked out, but there's like a huge line of people. I thought whatever, it was some like pop-up rave or something. We start walking to the end of the line and everyone is in full on BDSM fetish, all the sub fetishes that go on, you know. And I was like, there's just no way. Like this is not some like carnival themed rave. So we're standing in line and this guy comes out of nowhere to my ex-friend and was like, tapped her on the shoulder and just starts making out with her. At that point, there's already 2 red flags. He lied about where we're going and also did not like introduce himself at all. Like it almost like just treating her like a thing. This guy's there and he's like chewing gum, probably like on some type of like uppers. You can just see it, like small pupils chewing gum, like sporadic behavior. This guy was wearing like these mini Speedo boxer shorts and then he just had on like almost like a military like belt and then like another one that went like this, but there were like little pockets inside. Like he just like had stuff. So almost like his silhouette was like he was practically naked just with like these belts across him. I was just like, hey, we're just gonna get in, I'll enjoy the night and leave them be or something. We go to get inside and we find out that it costs like over 150 pounds to get in. So that's like almost 200 American dollars for each person. And so we go inside and it's like all of a sudden we're walking through this small hallway, there's a small bouncer, and then we turn to our left and it's like this huge party room and there's like silk aerialists and like drag queens and just like people, but everything with like a very fetish, like sexual theme. And he's like, hey guys, come upstairs with me. And as we're walking up the stairs, my friend pulls me aside and she was like, I don't really know if I want to be here, but I feel bad because we paid for our tickets. And I'm like, you don't owe this person anything. So we're going up the stairs and there's this long dark hallway and there's different rooms and there's different bouncers standing outside of each room. And then all of a sudden this girl comes up to us and she's like, hey, and starts like making out with the naked guy that's like with us. She's staring at us and trying to be very competitive, and she was this much older woman, probably like 35, 36. I find out that this guy had invited all of us there, but not told anyone that we were all gonna be there, as if it was like we were coming solo for a solo date. So we go into this room, and there was a huge long bed and a few couches, really dim lights, and it's basically an orgy room. Everyone is having sex. And I knew when I walked in, like, okay, more power to you, but I'm not feeling super comfortable. So I sit down on the bed and he starts trying to get my ex-friend and I to make out. And I'm like, okay, no. And she just switches. Like she switches from being like scared, bashful, intimidated person to like, I'm gonna perform for this guy or something. Like she 3 minutes prior had said, I don't really like this guy, I'm getting bad energy. So I'm just like watching all of this go down and they're starting to make out. He's trying to get me to go down on him. This guy though, like his personality was so grotesque. Like it was just like such an icky situation. She starts having sex with him But halfway through, I'm sitting there like, I don't want to leave my friend. I don't know what else is happening in this like circus fun house, but at the same time, I'm just gonna stay for a minute and make sure she's fine if I can. She turns around and starts crying. And she's like saying that it like hurts and all this stuff. And I was like, do you need to leave? Would you like to go with me? And she's like, no, I'm fine. And keeps like switching between crying and being like totally fine. So finally I say, I'm leaving, have fun. She's like, yeah, just go. So I go out of the room and I go into another room, and it's just like a small little room, and there's like a bathroom and like a neon light. And this guy comes in, and I swear he looks like Ninja from The Antwoord mixed with Mick Jagger. Like, it's one of those guys where you're like, you could be 75 years old or you could be 32. I really don't know what the drugs have done here. And he was like, hey, are you looking for Mandy, which is what they call Molly, like in Europe. He's definitely super coked out or something, but he's like asking me all these questions about my life, where I'm from. I take some of whatever he's offering, and then he like kisses me on the forehead, and he's like, see you in 30 minutes, love. And I'm like, okay, bye. So at that point, I'm starting to feel really anxious about my friend. I start to feel whatever I had taken hit. Then my friend comes from around the corner, and she's super like hair disheveled, looks like she's, you know, seen a ghost. And she's like, I need you to go home with me right now. And I was like, starting to really feel whatever I'd taken hit me. And I was like, I'm gonna let you know, like, if I get on a double-decker British bus, like, I'm gonna vomit. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you said you were okay. I don't know what else I can do. Like, I asked, like, you know, I feel like I'm in a tough situation. And so she leaves in a huff. And I walk out to this like huge, like all of a sudden this area that's like sprawling over, showing all of London and the skyline. Then this new guy enters. He's seemed kind of like the guy that like shops at Armani Exchange and covers himself in cologne and like wears polos. He is sitting there talking to me. We eventually went back to that bathroom and we like made out in there. Long story short, next thing I know, it's like 7, 8 in the morning. And I needed to go back to my flat we were staying at because my whole school were going to Stonehenge, which is like 2 hours away. And we only had one chaperone with us for the whole trip. And if I didn't make it back in time, they would call the school and begin the process of like, we don't know where she is. Because this is back in 2014, like, you know, I didn't have international data that I had bought. You know, connecting to Wi-Fi, hotspots, all that stuff was not as evolved as it is now. I had probably 30 to 40 minutes to get across the city to get to this huge bus with my school. I'm covered in like neon paint, glitter. You know, I'm wearing these like high-waisted cheetah shorts, just being a total mess. And the guy, he was like, don't worry, love, like, I'll take care of you, like, you're coming with me. And I'm just like, yes, sound great, like, I don't know. So we get into a car. I don't know who's driving. He says these people are his friends. And we're basically driving through traffic sporadically. There was no room for me to sit, so I'm sitting on his lap. And he starts like whispering things to me like, everything's gonna be okay. I'm going to take care of you now. All of the pain and the worries that you feel, I'm going to hold you, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, oh my God, like half asleep, trying to get back. And he's like, I have a plan for us, like all this stuff. I get back to my flat and I'm trying to bang on the door. I didn't have my key on me. I look up and I see the scaffolding because they were doing construction on our flat. So I start climbing it, knock on the window. And this one girl, Molly, who literally hated me in college, like opens up the curtain, like finally a couple minutes later, and she was like, oh my God, are you like, what's going on? Like through the window. And I was like, just open the window. And so I climbed through and I'm like, hi guys. And they're all like still asleep or like getting ready in bed. And I like run downstairs, run to my room. We get back onto the bus and I see my friend, the one who had like been with the guy in the orgy room. And she has on like this like neck pillow like you use when you travel. And she's like in full pajamas with a bag. She just like gives me a look and then just kind of like looks away. We get to Stonehenge, we went to Bath. When I connected to Wi-Fi at like a coffee shop in Bath, the guy who had dropped me off in the car posted on my Facebook wall like, hello gorgeous, I can't wait to take you out on the town tonight, I love you. At this point, like that is a public Facebook wall, who is this guy, like what is he talking about? And I started having people messaging me, like my mom. I was like, yeah, it seems like he wants to go out again, but I'm so exhausted. I haven't slept in over 24, 36 hours. I don't know what he's talking about. But for some reason, being like a younger, you know, lower self-esteem person, I thought, well, you know, like I don't want to make him upset, or like I just didn't like saying no. So we get back to the city and I begrudgingly, you know, retry to get ready and shower and stuff. And he pulls up in a car, which is very rare. Like in London, you usually just use the tube and like not a lot of people own cars. And we get in the car and he's like you know, playing this like techno music and trying to just be like super like, oh, tonight's gonna be like a magical night, you have no idea, like all this stuff. I'm like, okay. So we get to this like party, friends of his who were like Australian, they were like in this like closed down restaurant that apparently they owned. He offers me some pills. I take it. The party's still going, but he keeps saying we need to go back to his house. So we get to his flat. I remember it was like this room. It was almost like a studio with an attached bathroom, but it had this beautiful skylight, and he was showing me around. And I thought it was so bizarre. Like, honestly, I just want to sleep. Like, I just want to sleep. And he opens up his closet door and he starts pulling out boxes of like gas masks, food that will last 20 years, like a gun, like just all of this stuff. And I'm sitting here like, okay. He starts telling me conspiracy theories, and he was telling me stuff that's like not that deep. 9/11 like was done by the government, like vaccines are evil. So he's like showing me all of this survivalist stuff, talking about how I need to like wise up and like the end is coming and that there's going to be a chosen few that repopulate the earth. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like dazed out, haven't slept in like 36, 48 hours at this time. And he's like, here, let me show you. And he puts on this video, and I go to lay in the bed, and he's like laying over me and like putting his arm on me. And it wasn't coherent documentaries. It seemed like a VHS like home spliced video of just like planes, like bombing stuff. And like, I wonder if he really made it himself. I go to fall asleep while he's playing these videos, and I wake up and I hear this heavy breathing sound, and he's literally touching himself over my sleeping body. I laid there frozen, and I knew like, okay, Savannah, if you open your eyes, if you move more than you would normally move if you're sleeping, he might try to force you to participate. Like he might try to like, I don't know, like rape you, or like, I just know that I don't want to have sex with this person. He finished and went to the bathroom. I looked for my phone and it wasn't there. And I was just thinking like, I've been gone for, I don't even know what time it is. I need to get back. And then I guess I fell back asleep sometime when he was like in the shower. And I wake up and he's making eggs, like as if nothing happened. And I look at the phone, it's like probably 5, 6, 7 p.m. the next day. But I'm like, oh my God, my roommates need to know where I am. It's like the next day. I didn't plan to be out this long. And he's like, oh no, don't worry, love. Why are you worrying about these things? I'm here for you. Then he starts saying stuff like out of nowhere casual, like when we have babies, they won't be vaccinated. And how he's picked an island for us to go live on to repopulate the planet when it's eventually completely taken out by nuclear warfare. And I'm like, I really need my phone. And I realize at this point, while I'm searching around the bed, searching around the pillows, he has my phone. I finally give myself permission to allow myself to be heard. And I was like, I need to connect to Wi-Fi to talk to my roommates about when I'll be back. I don't even remember how I convinced him to give me my phone and let me connect to Wi-Fi. I finally do, and I have all these messages from a few of my flatmates who were like, we're getting really worried. And I'm like, it's okay. I was downplaying it because, to be honest, I thought there was nothing that insane going on. So I tell him I'm going to take a phone call outside. And he tells me, what are you doing? You don't need to leave. And he walks over to the door and he looks at me and he goes like this for me to give him my phone. When he did that, his energy and the look in his eyes shifted from this like fake happy guy who's gonna drive you around everywhere to like, I just like handed over my phone. I just knew like it was another moment where like, do you wanna see where this might escalate to? Then he just stopped and like went back to like in the kitchen making eggs again, like everything's normal and we're having brunch. I'm starving, but I'm sitting there just like, I just stopped responding to him at this point. I remember he went to go take a shower again, and he had my phone with him, and he was like whistling in the shower, and he was like, oh, come, you should probably shower, like you haven't in a few days, like come in, oh, the water's so warm, all this stuff. And I go over to the door and I realize that it's just a normal deadbolt. And then he kind of like leans out of the shower and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm like getting ready to come take a shower. And then I walk over really slowly and I see he has my phone by his towel. I slowly slipped my phone out. And keep in mind too, like my phone was extremely important because I had no other way to contact people in London. I was studying abroad for a few months, like didn't have a computer or anything. As quietly as I could, walk to the door and I go to unlock it really slowly. And then it opens and it's this long stairwell that's like going down in circles, and I just run. I don't know what part of London I'm in. I mean, like, I knew it was somewhere central, but I'm going down the stairs, And probably about like 2 or 3 flights down, I look up and I hear yelling. And I kind of see him in a towel. And he was like, "Where the f are you going?" And he like changes his demeanor to just like rage, anger. And I just look forward and I just run. And when I'm at almost the first floor, I can hear him up on like 5th or 6th, 7th, like start to like going down too. And I go out the door and I just start like running. And eventually I made it to a tube station and took a tube home. Then I started like, I blocked his number, blocked him on everything, but I just sent him a Facebook message like the next day and said, because he didn't say anything either, which I thought was so bizarre. Like, you just chased me down the stairs in a towel, screaming at me, and you just haven't, nothing. So I messaged him and I said, "Hey, I really think it would be best if we stayed friends." I don't know what I was thinking in my like young mind. I was like, I really think that I've been, you know, coming out of a relationship and I have a lot going on and that we should just stay friends. And he just responds, "Right, mate, what do you mean? We've always just been friends." And then he blocked me on Facebook. That is the last I heard from him. I learned that self-esteem is really important. It's really important to have boundaries and important to know that it's okay to say, "Hey, I don't like what the situation I'm in." I was allowing myself to be blown by the winds of anything that the world was bringing my way, and I really lost myself within that swirl. Honestly, that story to me has always just been like a wild 3-day story with twists and turns. I always would tell it in a very like comical light for the first like year, but then after getting a little bit older, I'm like, whoa. I mean, he sexually assaulted me. He gave me random drugs. I was asleep. I don't know if he did anything else. I only know what I remember when I woke up. I feel really sad. Like, I feel really sad for that like younger girl that I was who felt like I owed these people anything. Like, I felt like I owed them my body. Like, I felt like I owed them like, I feel like I was like a really innocent younger girl who just wanted like a fresh new opportunity and like meeting people. I just wanted to connect with others. And I didn't stay true to who I was, and I allowed myself to feel like that my personal safety and my physical body is allowed to be abused in exchange for that. You need to know where your moral boundary is and live comfortably within that. Because when you lie to yourself and when you turn on yourself and compromise for other people and other people's happiness, you're always going to lose. Growing up, you always see kidnapping scenarios where someone's like tied up, like zip tied and thrown into the back of a van or held at gunpoint. And although there were threatening things in his house, he did have a gun, he did have super odd behavior. I kept saying to myself, this isn't actually happening to me, because it wasn't happening like how it happens in movies. And I think I was like really in denial of what was going on. Just because someone says something does not mean it's true. Just because someone seems nice doesn't mean they're actually nice. I know all of these things sound like so no-brainer 101 things, but you get into these situations and your mind is so shocked about what's going on, you just like, you can't believe it.